because it's loving its life.
And let nature come to you.
Dream, guys, is coming to life.
And served a new purpose.
Hi, long time no see. My name is Emily, and I'm coming to you from the scent of a garden in Southern California, Zone 10B, Sunset Zone 22, also known as my backyard. My garden focuses on flowers, foliage, and fragrance. So today's video is a collaboration with my garden friends to give you an update on our dream garden project that we started about a couple of months ago. And for me, my dream garden bed, known as the Zen garden bed, is inspired by a trip I took to Bali. And to recap, this is the mood board that shows the direction that I'd like for this garden bed to go in. Now, I shared this vision a couple months ago. So this brings me to a confession that I suffer from spring squirrel syndrome, or some call it spring bright shiny object syndrome, or I call it spring pretty petal syndrome. So just in short, yeah, I got distracted with all of this. Floret, zinnias, and dahlias that are hardening off and I can't wait to plant out, and geraniums and nasturtiums, and back there are hyacinth bean. So there's been a lot going on, garden related mostly, and some not garden related. But in any case, I do have progress to share. And while I'm not as far along as I had hoped at this point in the growing season, every step towards the goal counts. So let me turn the camera around and share some updates. Now, I know this is still in the container because it's a placeholder, and you see the three broken concrete pieces I had to remove. The biggest change right now is adding the two Abyssinian bananas, or ensete. You see here are the different textures in leaves that I'm considering. So you have this here, which at least at Home Depot they call it the China doll, and abbeys, I affectionately call them the abbeys, in pots because of the ficus roots. Those are serious. You see them all the way back there, and I don't know if I'm going to hit a root. I also want to make sure that these are happy. Yes, they look very happy. And I will eventually get them in the ground. What's nice about having them in a pot is being able to add color. So the color that's added in this pot is coleus and sun patience and a proven winner, Jazzberry Supertunia, and a begonia. This heuchera here, I don't know, that's a trial. And then more alocasia And then you have the acanthus and a darker alocasia. I may switch the position because it's already dark back there, and this is a brighter color that would pop from back there to here. And then there's one more plant right here. I don't know what that's called, but it loves the shade. And this acanthus, look at the leaves on it. It's gorgeous. And the color is beautiful. It's also a little spiky, so you got to be careful. So in the second Abbey container, there is Coleus and Diplandina and a white impatient. Then you come back around, you see the Camilla is in a tray, so I can continue to bottom water. And Kimberly fern. And then in the back is this everyday palm. It's usually used as a house plant, but I like the leaf variation that it provides. So that's there. And all the way in the back is one pygmy palm. And then we can swing around. There is another pygmy palm. And yes, the fountain is still in the styrofoam box. It will be until everything's planted. And then here is a variegated plant that I also like against this plant, whose name I can't remember right now. I'll put it up on screen. And so as you see the hints of red from the cordyline and how they continue, how that color continues over here in the Bali inspired Zen. I like it. I like that addition. So while it does take me a while to make a decision, this one I'm almost done. And then maybe here in a container, I'll add the red cannas just in front of the eucalyptus. I'm not sure though. And then here you have the calla lilies, and in between the calla lilies I will add the caladiums. And the caladiums are a similar leaf shape, but will also add that pretty another shade of red. So I keep telling myself this is a judgment-free zone. Every step towards the goal counts. So I hope you enjoyed this update. So now let's take a trip and catch up with Deborrah in Georgia, Kim and Betty in North Carolina, and Lynn in Southwest Pennsylvania.
My garden dream is tied to my secret garden. Come along with me while we go inside the secret garden. Now, one of the things that I was inspired by from Pinterest was this photo to add the arbors in here. Well, because my Texas Vertex is just doing so well, and like I said, I'm in the process of grooming it to become more of a tree instead of a shrub. So we've been cutting branches at the bottom. But the one thing that I'm noticing, because it's loving its life, the branches are spilling over into the lower garden bed. So what I'm gonna end up doing is trimming that back, because the premise with adding the arbors in here was I thought I was going to be able to put 2 here, but because of how well this is growing, I'm probably only going to have Kevin do 1 here and then 1 on the other side, to where I'm still giving the Texas lilac room to grow, and then also add that secretness to the garden as it grows. Let's just go ahead and take a walk through the garden and see what is actually blooming. Okay, because this garden is like 3 tiers, 3-tiered beds, let's just start with the back. So that is my lavender on the end, and then these are my milkweeds that I planted from seeds. You guys can see, I was concerned whether or not they were going to be successful. Look at my cosmos. I actually pinched these back based off of feedback from one of my subscribers, and look how full these guys are. This is my blue mist Sprea, and looky here. This is the thing too. I try to plant things that will bring the pollinators to my garden. This here is my Gumfrina that's doing well. That there is some Veronica that I transplanted. I got some, I believe these are, giant double zinnias. That's what these are. And then these are my dwarf sunspot sunflowers. Look at these guys. Now they're supposed to get, I believe, 36 inches in height. And I think that is going to look absolutely gorgeous. And these are not the singles. Look at this. I have multiple sunflowers on this, so this is going to be absolutely gorgeous. And I just think the contrast that it's going to have to the blue mist Sprea is going to be gorgeous. And then I have the other version of the sunflowers. Now those guys, I only believe they get to 18 to 24 inches, and then I have them next to my other batch of cosmos. And my verbena is doing so nice. And the one thing that I am loving about this, because it is trailing, to be able to have this whole area just engulfed. And then with my variegated larapi, got my yarrow here, and then just for some wispiness, have a Garo in that area, and then another version of Garo back there. But this, and then guys, my hibiscus. I thought that was a goner, and I was gonna pull out. I get so impatient, sometimes it's not funny, but it is doing so fantastic, and I cannot wait until it blooms. And I think it's Black Midnight or something like that. I'll put the name of it up. Oh, and then look here, my irises are starting to pop up. And that's the thing with gardening. You want to be able to have a variety of things that are blooming at different times, and that's what I try to strive for. Cleaned up my rose bush, and guys, like I said, you can see, let me get that off of there. You can see new growth on here, and this is a rebloomer. So I'm excited about this rose bush being covered once again with these beautiful white and pink flowers. My garden dream for my secret garden is coming along so nicely. I'm loving the Texas Vertex lilac being center stage, and the thought process of being able to add the arbors to my garden, I believe, will create elegance, add to the seclusion, add to the intimacy that I want my secret garden to exhibit.
Well, Deborrah, you know, secret's out. Your secret garden is alive and thriving. And the way you framed the Texas Vortex lilac within the archway of the entryway arbor is truly inspirational.
Hi guys, Kim here. Welcome to Backyard Blooms. In today's video, we are going to do an update on my cottage garden. Back a couple of months ago, we did a collaboration with my gardening friends, and it was in the springtime. And now it is mid-May, and we're going to do another collaborating video and giving you a great update on my cottage garden. You guys, if you can just be still in your garden, you're going to see all the nature come to you today. So I'm really excited to share my, I guess, early summer garden with you guys, and some of the things that I talked about that I planted in the garden before. Some of them are doing well, but it seems like it takes a couple of years for them to like actually thrive and come back and do good like the second year. So some of the plants that I planted actually last year, like my white Gara, is being gorgeous this year. And it looks very beautiful against these purple blooms on my Walker's Low. And then I have the white Gara above that. And if you've not watched my video on the white Gara, I talked about that they are dancing butterflies in your garden. And they truly, truly do look like dancing butterflies in the garden. And then I was away for the weekend spending Mother's Day with my children, and I came back and these gorgeous cantaloupe coneflowers have bloomed, and they're like peeking up over the Gara. So not only do I have the Walker's Low catmint, and then I have my white Gara, and then I have these gorgeous melon coneflowers above that. It's just so, so pretty. And then on top of that, behind that, my, you see the hummingbird right there behind me? And then on top of that, my little gem magnolia is starting to bloom. So I have multiple layers in my garden here in the cottage garden, and that's what I really wanted to achieve. And I've got fullness. So I have absolute fullness, and then I want to have something in my cottage garden that's going to bloom all the time at all different seasons. So in the springtime, I had my silly daffodils, and then I had my perennials such as my pink and blue blooming. I had my hellebores that were blooming and my bleeding hearts that were blooming. I had so many things that were blooming during that time. And now that those blooms are already gone in the springtime, but not only did I got to enjoy the blooms in the springtime, now I got the gorgeous foliage and the texture that that plant gave me now here in my garden. So I want to encourage you to get out into your garden and let nature come to you. Like I said this morning, I so enjoyed that hummingbird that came to my millionaire, and I'm going to show all these pictures that I shared with you that I videoed this morning. And that gorgeous swallowtail was absolutely beautiful. And then I even had like a little bird kind of like walking through the garden looking for little insects or whatever it was looking for to feed on. And I encourage you to go out and plant the things. If you want to bring in hummingbirds to your garden, if you want to bring in butterflies to your garden, or even pollinators such as the bees that I have in my garden, plant those specific plants that they absolutely love. And I've already shared some of the ones that they love. The millionaire, they love the catmint, they love the verbena, they love the lantana, and so many more, and the baptisia. And I've got so many beautiful things to share with you today. And like I said, I've got fullness in my garden, I have texture in my garden, and all the things that I planted last year are really thriving. And some of the things that I just planted this year from seed are going to be thriving next year or even later in the summer. So I'm excited to give you another update later in the summer as well. Just to give you an example of things that I did from seed right now are just now starting to get established into my garden, such as the lupines, the delphinium, the foxgloves, some of the salvia that I planted. So I think like later in the summertime, those things are gonna like shine. Well, right now they're just like little babies into my garden and starting to get established. So let me turn the camera around and show you my beautiful cottage garden. Beautiful this is. I was going with that peach fuzz Pantone of the year, and look how gorgeous this peachy verbena is. And this is the brand new Supertunia that came out this past year, this yellow finch. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then I already had ivy in here from last year, so I kept that. And then of course I have that gorgeous Vermillionaire that you just enjoyed, that lovely hummingbird enjoying all the gorgeous nectar of this Vermillionaire. So I do love the colors. I love a pop of yellow into my garden because it brings a lot of brightness. Since I do have a lot of green, these cryptomeria trees are doing great. They're providing me some shade. Like I said, I get to play around with this garden this year because I do have part sun, and I have sun, and then I have shade as well. I have all the delphiniums too that are starting to like really put on some growth. And I do have one over there that started to bloom, and I alternated the white and the lavender color of the delphinium that I have here in the garden. So I'm really excited about that. Like I said, it might be more of summertime before I get to see these like really get established and starting to bloom. And then I have the agastache. This is something that I planted last spring when we talked about what I was going to add into the garden. And then of course you have the salvia. If you want to have more blooms, make sure you go in and deadhead your salvia. I have some spit blooms there. And then look at this gorgeous baptisia right there. You can enjoy, like you can see the bumblebee or the bees on there just adoring this plant. That's a beautiful plant. I love how it gives like a tall presence in the garden. And like I said, like even after it blooms, I love the structure that it still gives into the garden as well. I have some daylilies over there. I have some spurge. I have a pineapple lily that's doing really well. Lemon coral sedum. And then underneath the cryptomeria trees, this is where I planted those hostas that we talked about, just to give you an update. And then I have a couple roses that are leaning on the ground there as well. Walker's Low Catmint gives a big presence into my cottage garden, and the bees just love that, like I told you as well. And then behind that, I have the Bleeding Heart that I planted this past year, and I still really like the foliage on that. Look at the leaf structure, just so pretty. And then the hellebores are still kind of peeking behind that. You can see the hellebores right here mixing in with the bubblegum. Supertunia from Proven Winners. It is like a workhorse in the garden. So if you need to fill some spaces, put some annuals, and they're going to give you some great color as well. And this is my Beyond Pink Coreopsis that I'm really excited about. And then just all the other little frogs and birds that are mixed into the garden here as well. More of the Nepeta, and then the Gara. And you can see the bees are loving that as well. And this is the most exciting plant that I planted in the garden this past summer. So this is from Monrovia, and it is called Teeny Genie. It is a compact lantana, and look at the color on that, you guys. The butterflies are gonna so love this plant once it gets established. Now this is a zone 9. I'm a zone 8 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But one of the owners, when I asked him about this plant, because none of my lantana came back this year, he said, you know, I can go out and spend $70 on a steak dinner tonight and it's absolutely gone. But at least I get to enjoy this plant all summer long and into the fall. And I absolutely agree. And if I wanted to, I could probably pull this plant up out of the ground and put it into the garage for next year. But how gorgeous is that? Love it. Mixed in here, I have the candy corn spirea, and it just went out of bloom. And then look, you guys, this is what I said when I came back from my trip from Kentucky. I saw these cantaloupe coneflowers blooming, and they are so pretty. I have lots of different coneflowers that I did plant in here last year, so I'm pretty excited. I bought those from Bare Root, and you can see the second year they just do so much better, and they're so much fuller as well. And the Gara I did plant last year also. I have white Gara, and then I have some light pink Gara and some dark pink. And every one of the colors of Gara is so nice. And then down below, I have another vine that I got from Bare Root. It's the Black-Eyed Susan, but this one is a tangerine color. They have different colors, yellow, they have a white, and then the tangerine. So I'm pretty excited about that. Once that gets established and starts growing up, this obelisk, I think it's gonna be really, really pretty. But I love how the Gara is just kind of mingling in with that as well. Isn't it gorgeous? And then look at the little gem magnolia. So pretty. I'm starting to get some buds and some blooms out of that. This has been in the garden for I think about 3 years. It's gonna make a nice structure plant in the garden as well. And I have 3 of these concrete containers. I did get these from, everybody asked me where I get them from. I got these from Wilson's, and I've honestly not have seen these containers anywhere else. I found some at Lowe's that were very something similar and were very cost effective. And if you like this, they do have this from Unique Stone, but it's a little bit more pricier. Coming around this container, we have the candy corn spirea, and I just really love all the colors on this plant. You got red, orange, chartreuse, yellow, just absolutely beautiful. And then I have a few volunteers here as well. Some of the pansies dropped from my fall container, so I'm enjoying them as well. You might as well have some freebies along the way. And then above this, the lilac's already gone out of bloom too. It's a reblooming lilac, so I'm pretty excited about that. And then behind that, I finally may get to see some blooms on my pufferfish hydrangea. And then behind that, I have another rose of Sharon that's gonna be pink. And then beyond that, I have some butterfly weed. So last year didn't do good, and we're gonna see if it does good this year. I got that in a bare root form as well. And then coming down below, you can see the junipers behind. In the back, the more sun they get, the more gold they get. And then the hellebores are still hanging on and having a few little blooms. A lot of times you have to go in and deadhead those as well. And then the lungwort looks really good, has great foliage. And then coming on down, and then the Jacob's ladder's gone out of bloom as well, but still a great structure in the garden, and it looks more like fern-like. And then I planted another yellow lantana here. So I think the butterflies are gonna love that as well. Like I said, make sure you plant like things that you want to attract. And then coming down, I grew this from seed. This is a lavender, English lavender. And then some hostas that came back from last year. This one's called Wrinkle in Time. So along with the hosta, I have the astilbe, and this one's just about ready to go into bloom and put on some tall spikes, which I love in a cottage garden. And then above that, we have some blooming phlox. There's the spikes on the astilbe. Pretty excited about that. That's the first astilbe that I planted in this garden. You can still see I have some foliage from my silly daffs. And then these are the blooms of the tall phlox. And my agapanthus is starting to bloom, so I get to enjoy some of those blooms. And when they get real tall and spiky too, they're gonna be really pretty the second year as well. You can see the bees just loving this Gara. And then this is where I planted all the lupine right there, and I just have a whole drift of it planted, mingled all the way in through these, all the way down, and it even further beyond that, you can see some foxglove. And then here's the foxglove right here. Just a big drift of it. Today's a bit cloudy. Of course, we've had a lot of rain. Here's one of my hanging baskets. It's gorgeous begonias coming around. I'm going to throw some pictures of some clips of the sun that I had yesterday as well. I have some of my David Austin roses. This is Olivia. And then the clematis is looking gorgeous on this trellis there. And then I have Nellie Stevens that I made into like a little topiary tree. And I'm going to give you the good, bad, and ugly. For some reason, this plant right here, this Nellie Stevens, has some yellowing to the leaves and some black spots. I'm going to have to come in here and spray some fungicide. I've already sprayed it once, but I don't think it was enough. It's starting to fill out a little bit, so I need to get this under control. And this is the only one that has it. This one's doing great over there. I've been trying to control the deer, but they're still getting in here somehow. And they've eaten off some of the blooms onto this David Austin rose. And then this one right here, I just cut it all the way back. I'm going to pull that one up, you guys. So do not be scared to pull things up if they don't perform well in your garden. This one has constantly got either some kind of fungus, its leaves drop. So the second year it's done the same thing, so it's going to come out. This Olivia David Austin rose is looking really good. Let's enjoy the blooms on her. She's so pretty. This one is a really good shrub that gets about 4 feet tall and has lots of repeat bloomers. And then behind that, I still have the gold junipers and more creeping phlox. And then I have 3 different colors of the Rose of Sharon. And they have not bloomed out yet. But so far, the deer have left them alone. But I know they've been in the garden. I think it's a baby one that's been getting through. And then I have some dahlias that are coming up here. And then my new shrub that I planted not too long ago was the Temple of Bloom. Really excited about that one. That one has all year around interest as well. And then this rose is pretty much gone out of bloom, but look how pretty that color is. It's kind of more of a peachy color. And then I had it mixed in here with this Happy Jack clematis. And it is happy. This is the other side of the Happy Jack clematis. You guys, can you not get any more beautiful than that? Year after year after year, it just keeps getting fuller and fuller. It is gorgeous. It almost looks like purple stars, doesn't it? And then below it, I have some daylilies that are growing at its feet. They say that clematis or clematis likes shady feet, so I gave it some shady feet. And then I have some more of the nepeta. This one right here, I have cat's pajamas and cat's meow, both in this area right here. Like I said, it's rained a lot, so some of the blooms have got knocked over. Some are still standing tall. And then I planted some lilies here too for my cut flower garden as well. Button bush, I think it got ate by the deer, look. And then this little strawberry hydrangea tree bush, I'm never gonna see that one bloom. At the very end of the garden, I planted some lemon jade sedum, and that looks well. The deer seem to have left it alone. And then this yarrow looks really pretty. And I'm trying to keep this yarrow growing so I could have it for cut flowers too. Like even the new blooms and some of the spent blooms look pretty too. So I think you could even use some of the spent blooms in a bouquet as well. Make sure you keep up on your weeds. I've got a weed growing here. They're easy to pull if you find them when they're little. So here you go, guys. The bad and the ugly. This is my ugly part right here. I really do care about my manicured grass. I'm gonna have to come back and put some sod here because it's too shady right here, and the Tiff turf does really well. So I'm gonna add some of that this weekend. And then coming back up the hill here, just giving you a glance at how pretty this cottage garden is in May. I love the cottage garden because it's always changing. I encourage you to go to the nursery every single month and buy one flowering plant. And then that way you will have something blooming in your garden that you can enjoy every single month. I am in love with my cottage garden. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.
And Kim, I completely agree. One of the joys of being a home gardener is the delight of inviting wildlife and nature into your garden, watching it visit and stay a while.
Hey y'all, and good morning. Welcome back to my garden. My dream was to have a cottage garden, and we have been working really hard on creating the cottage garden. So I want to show you what we've created so far and some of the ideas that I have to make it look more cottagey. Okay guys, so here is our cottage garden. This was just a blank slate a couple of months ago, and we have come in and added some of the structure that I feel like will be a good start to a cottage garden. So first we talked about the fence. So we have the fence in the background, and that's kind of like giving us a border to work within. And then our next part is that we planted the tall guy arborvitaes, so that will also give us a nice backdrop. And between each tall guy, we have transplanted our incredibles that were up front. So as you can see, we have like this pattern with the tall guy and the incredible and the tall guy going along all through the cottage garden. So then after that, after we had our fence and then our background structure, we started to add in some of our ground cover. So we've done really good with adding lots of ground cover. We've did lamium, and we've did heucheras and hostas, and we already had some of the things you see here on the front. We already had this hydrangea here, and this phlox here, and this autumn joy sedum here. So those were already in place when we got started. So we've working really hard on getting the ground cover in, because I feel like the more ground cover you have, then the less weeds that you're going to have to pull. And speaking of weeds, we also added in a layer of really deep, thick mulch that's also going to help us with the weed control. So as I'm looking at the cottage garden, though, I feel like there may be some elements that are missing. And I feel like that fullness that I'd like to see, and then also the tallness. So we know that the incredibles are going to get taller and the tall guys will get taller, but it does take time. So I was looking around and trying to think about different plants that would look good in a cottage garden that would be taller. So let me show you one of the plants that I have bought to add to our cottage garden. So this is the plant that I bought to go in our cottage garden. And now this is the new version by Proven Winners. This is the Senorita Rosalita, and it's a cleome. It gets 24 to 48 inches tall. And this one doesn't have the thorns. Well, it says it doesn't have thorns, but it does have like really, really small ones, not like the old-timey version. So I have seen a couple little thorns on this one, and it's supposed to not self-seed everywhere, because this will pretty much take over everything. So these are really pretty. They do kind of have a strong smell to them, but they're a very hardy plant to add into your garden. Plus, they give you the tallness that you want, they give you the color, and they also give you that fullness. So I'm very excited to plant these in the garden. Then the next one that I got, this is also going to add a little bit of height, but what I'm most excited about is adding a place for our pollinators and for our hummingbirds. So this is called a vermillionaire. It's not really the colors that I would choose for my cottage garden, but I don't mind having it in here for the fact that I would love to have this for the hummingbirds and for the pollinators. So this is the next one that we're going to be planting, and it gets 18 to 28 inches tall. So that's the vermillionaire. And then the last one we got here is a lupine. And we actually did find a little cricket was eating on this the other day, and it was breaking off the branches as it was eating on it. So we'll have to watch out for this one with the crickets and other pests that try to get to it. But they're going to add that nice tallness to the garden that I'm looking for. And this was, I'm not really sure what color this is going to be because it's kind of like a little gallery mix. So splashes of blue, yellow, pink, red, and white. And this one gets 12 to 18 inches tall. So I'm excited about adding this one into the garden as well. So I think this is going to help us with adding that tallness that I feel like that I'm missing in our cottage garden. All right, guys, so let's get these planted. Take a look and see how this looks. So I'm thinking this is going to go good in this section here. And then as we go along our little pathway here, we'll have another cleome here in this section. And then we'll have our vermillionaire. And then the lupine, which kind of looks a lot like our peony there with the leaf structure. So I may move that to a different area, but I'm not sure. I kind of like it right there though. So I think this is where we're going to do our plantings at, guys. I think this will add some beautiful color and some beautiful height to our garden. I wish I would have had maybe 2 more of the cleome, maybe to add in here and add right here, but they only had 2 at the nursery. So this is what we're going to get planted. Hey, baby. Y'all, if these seedlings live with Miss Winnie on them all the time, it's going to be a miracle. Miss Winnie, can we get off the seedlings? Come over here. Can you come over here? Well, right now she's not on them. She's just kind of around them, but we have a little row of snapdragons right there. And she just thinks that this is her spot to sit. All right, guys, let's get this vermillionaire planted. Okay, guys, so we got them all planted. The first one here is the lupine. So we've got it beside the Incredible, beside a little peony here. It's got a backdrop of snapdragons and the tall guy and some of the ornamental oregano here and here. So that looks really pretty. Then we go up this way and we've got our vermillionaire planted. And this will be for our little pollinators and hummingbirds. So that looks really good there. The Incredibles will be white, and then we've got our green, and then the softness from our lamb's ear. And then as we go up this way, towards where Miss Winnie is sitting on the seedlings again, we have our cleome here. And I think that looks really pretty. It'll have the white with the Incredibles, and the green with the tall guy, and the purple with the cleome. And then as we go around this way here, this will kind of just draw our eye up, and we have our last cleome here. And this will be kind of a nice little end to our border here, and it'll just kind of tie in all the colors there. So I think that looks really, really pretty. And let's stand back to where we were standing before and see if that makes a difference. to kind of give me the tallness that I want and the fullness that I want. I think it's looking really good, guys. And I can't believe the transformation that we've had from just a few months ago to today. So my garden dream, guys, is coming to life right before our very eyes. And I'm so glad that you get to join me as we're planting this together and as we're learning how to build a cottage garden. So stay tuned, and we're going to have some more videos as this cottage garden transforms into this beautiful space.
And Betty, your cottage garden transformation, oh, it's coming along beautifully.
Hi, and welcome to my garden for the May update to our Garden Dreams collaboration. A lot has happened in 2 months. Pixie arrived 2 years ago, and she created a woodland path on our morning walks. Last fall, that path became the woodland walk for a new garden. This spring, a tree came down, hollow to the core, and served a new purpose. As a planter, as wood chips for the path, and a dramatic edge for that path. Fortunately, the May apples survived the tree fall, and they grew up around it. They even bloomed. The native plantings that we put in last fall are beginning to fill out, and some of them have even begun to bloom. My friend Bill gave me clumps of white violets and also giant Solomon seal. The serviceberry blooms very early, and these are several young trees on either side of the path, underplanted with bloodroot and tiarella. I transplanted several clumps of wild violets at the end of the bed, and they're blooming profusely, along with woodland phlox. One of my favorite trees is our native black cherry, and we have 5 of them blooming along the fence. What to do with the short logs? Well, I decided to create a small stumpery, a place to plant ferns and small wildflowers. Pixie was intrigued. We dug up ferns encroaching on the lawn, and we hauled them to the stumpery and planted them. It will take a while for them to settle in and grow, but the process has begun. With all the green planting, I wanted to add a focal point, but maybe something larger. We discovered several pagoda dogwoods in the woods, and they have begun blooming and will provide berries in the fall for the birds. I still have so much to plant. The winter sown seedlings are almost ready to put in the ground. I transplanted Virginia bluebells and woodland iris, woodland asters, and woodland goldenrod. A 24-hour storm brought several inches of rain, and the garden and the woods have suddenly become full and lush. Growth will come quickly now, and I can't wait to see what summer brings.
So One of my favorite aspects of our collaboration is the opportunity to get to know home gardeners in their gardens in other zones, and getting to know their gardens, their artistry, and their beauty. This will be my first time watching a stumpery grow from the beginning. Lynn, I'm looking forward to seeing your artistry come alive. Looks like we've all made progress. So what are you dreaming about creating in your garden this year? I would love to know. I enjoyed this video collaboration with my garden friends, and I invite you to visit their channels listed in the description box below. And I also invite you, if you enjoyed this video, to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. And I hope you enjoy your flowers and the fragrance in the air. See you in the next video.